Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
When you see guys like Bo, man, that's that physical, that big, and that fast, the sky's the limit for him. You just gotta have his mind on right.
A former great Bama running back talking about perhaps a future Crimson Tide star. Good evening, everybody, and welcome into Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. We're going to talk about Bo Scarborough in a moment, but first, let's pop the top on our Diet Pepsi Wild Cherry. Got to be careful. Don't want to. As good as it is going down, you don't want it spewing all over the desk.
Well,
you know
we got
I mean?
some now on the table.
That's good stuff. Get you some Diet Pepsi Wild Cherry or any great Pepsi product the next time you're at your local grocery store. Rodney, let's talk about Saturday scrimmage before we talk about Bo Scarborough. Let's talk about the scrimmage. In general, we're not really able to watch the scrimmage. We get to see a little bit of the warm-ups, but you do get statistics given to you. Aside from Bo, Rodney, what stood out to you from Saturday's scrimmage based on the stats and what little bit you were able to gather talking with people who were there?
Well, I think one thing, Gary, that always continues to kind of stand out about this team is how they've done in the scrimmages in terms of defensively. They were outstanding in that first scrimmage, and again, it seemed like Coach Saban was extremely pleased with the way they did on that side of the ball. In the first scrimmage, I think they had at least 3 or 4 interceptions. A couple of those returned for touchdowns. Again, the defense in this scrimmage produced 3 touchdowns. I think a couple of those were interception returns and a fumble recovery return by Daron Payne. So, the defense continues to perform really well. And, when you're in spring practice, Gary, and when your defense is that good and ahead of your offense, that's really kind of where you want to be, because that's where it starts on that side of the ball.
No doubt about it, and a lot of talent on both sides of the ball with that defense. They look lean, mean, and potentially nasty, and we've seen that so far during the spring. But no doubt, in addition, Rod, to, of course, the fans worried about who the quarterback's going to be, the talk of spring ball has been Bo Scarborough. And he had another big scrimmage on Saturday, according to the stats. Scarborough had 12 carries for 112 yards and a touchdown. That gives him more than 240 yards and 4 touchdowns in the 2 scrimmages this spring. And so the hype train, which is already going off the tracks, is now going completely downhill. I know he's a talented guy. I hope he can live up to all of this hype that's surrounding him. He's really never played in a game that was meaningful other than a few backup carries last year behind Henry and Drake. But, he does look the part, and so far he's been very productive.
Well, and I think one thing, too, is Nick Saban and his coaching staff, Burton Burns, are really good at keeping guys grounded. So I don't think he's going to have an issue dealing with all the expectations and what have you. But there's no doubt about it. When you look at a guy that's 230 pounds and runs like he runs and can catch the ball as well as he can catch the ball and do all the things that he can do athletically, there's going to be expectations. And again, the main thing for Bo is to continue to improve and learn to do the little things that he's supposed to do and do them right, carry out his assignments, and mainly stay healthy.
Yeah, that's the thing. He has a track record, even in high school, of being hurt. You mentioned his hands. When he was at Northridge, he was a great receiver. Yeah. In fact, there was a lot of talk that he could be a Division I receiver or H-back, but he can really run the ball too. So I'm with you. I think so far it's deserved. But remember, in the fall, as good as Alabama's defense is, when he's out there on Saturdays, that other team is going to be looking to put a hurting on him. So we'll have to see how he responds as an actual in-game running back, but the prospects look good.
Oh, no question about it. And I think one thing too, Gary, is you want to develop that 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
So Damian Harris seems to be having a good spring as well.
Yeah, Damian Harris, 8 carries for 56 yards on Saturday. Rodney Clark averaged over 4 yards a carry too as well. So they're trying to build some depth there. Well, we'll get our first chance to see Scarborough compete this spring at Saturday's A-Day game. We'll discuss A-Day coming up. Plus, while the football team celebrates A-Day, the gymnastics squad will be competing for another national championship. We'll hear from head coach Dana Duckworth. And coming up, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You can call us at 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Email us, TITV@WVUA23.com. Or I know some of you tweeted last week at us, and we loved it. We're going to try to get some of those on. But you can tweet at us using the hashtag TITV. And Brandon and Katarina are waiting with bated breath to pull those tweets off. So get them to us. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider TV. We'll return right after this. For the 34th consecutive year, the Alabama Gymnastics team is going to the NCAA Championships. The Crimson Tide will compete for a 7th national title in Fort Worth, Texas. The semifinals are Friday, and if Bama advances to the Super 6, they will compete for the championship on Saturday.
You can't focus on winning and beating them. You have to focus on doing your job. And so I think that the pressure is really on everybody else. The pressure is us just going out and doing what Alabama Gymnastics does, and then the results taking care of itself. We have the heart, the passion, and the love. We have the talent, and now you've got to put those two things together. Trust your training, trust one another, and love what you do.
She loves what she does. I mean, she's got so much enthusiasm. It just oozes out of her. Welcome back to Tider Insider TV alongside Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Well, Alabama wrapped up practice a couple of hours ago. That only leaves 2 more, and one of those, of course, is the A-Day game on Saturday, a practice on Thursday, then A-Day. And the spring game has become quite an event in Nick Saban's time at Alabama, but it also has importance for the players.
A lot of excitement going around, you know, just to go out there and see all those fans out of the spring game. You know, it's good for a lot of the recruits, players, and young players that are just coming in the spring. Just give them, you know, a little experience of what to look forward to in the fall.
It's just another opportunity to go suit up in our stadium. You know, it's I love playing in that stadium. It's always a great feeling. So just another opportunity to do that and just play the sport that I love to play.
You know, Rodney, there is so much hype surrounding the game, and starting back in 2007, I still just think back, you and I were sitting in the press box, and it's the end of the first quarter, and we're like, they're still coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, 92,000, and that's before the stadium seated 100,000. So, I mean, it was slammed. And, you know, last year was the low for Saban. It's still 65,000 people. So it is an event. It is a big fan day. It is about recruiting. But for these players, man, it's about, you know, playing football and trying to establish themselves in a role for the 2016 season.
Yeah.
So we can't forget about that.
Absolutely, especially a lot of these younger guys that are trying to establish themselves, make a name for themselves, and gives a lot of these guys an opportunity. Some of them, the first time that they have that chance to really play in a game-type atmosphere inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. You know, a guy like Anthony Jennings, who is a redshirt freshman, and several others that will have their first opportunity. So it's a big start for a lot of these guys.
You know, for these quarterbacks too, and I know we're probably a long way away from a starter being named, and this isn't against another team, but it is a game. There are officials, there are fans, and it is going to be heavily scrutinized by fans and media. So it's a big stage for these QBs. I mean, none of these guys have played much. Bateman's only one's played in a game. The rest of them, this is a big deal.
Yeah, certainly it is. Again, it's an opportunity for them, like I said, to participate in front of the crowd. And now I will say this too. You know, I think sometimes fans overreact to what they see in these A-Day games. For instance, 2 years ago, I don't think Blake Sims had his best day.
He didn't.
I think last year, Coker probably didn't have his best day, and we saw what both of those guys did. So I really wouldn't put too much stock in it. They're doing a lot of things. They're playing with a lot of different combinations and players and all of those types of things. So, you know, I really would not overreact to maybe what you see, because as we've seen in the past, sometimes that's a little misleading.
Saturday at 2 o'clock, and don't forget Crimson Tide kickoff live from right here inside Bryant-Denny Stadium at 10 a.m., a special A-Day version of CTKO, so you'll want to join us for that right here on WVUA 23. Well, on Friday, Rodney, the NCAA Division I Council announced a ban on satellite camps requiring all D1 programs conduct clinics at a regularly used practice facility. Now, this thing to me got way more discussion than it, I'm going to say this. You know, Jim Harbaugh got what he wanted out of this. He got a lot of attention for his program. I didn't really have a problem with him. I don't think Jim Harbaugh coming and running a camp in Prattville was going to cost Alabama a player. Having said that, the ACC and the SEC clearly did not want these satellite camps being run. Just your thoughts on the banning of them. Yeah,
I wasn't for them at all. And again, I understand what Jim Harbaugh was doing. He certainly was getting his program out there in the limelight a little bit, and so I understand that. But I've said all along that I did not like these satellite camps. I thought that the camps that you have at your campus, when you have an opportunity to bring these kids in, you know, coach them there. They can see your facilities. They get accustomed to what you've got and all the things that you offer, and maybe coaching styles and all of those different kinds of things. And I just didn't see any reason for these schools to start going all. I thought it could have turned into a circus.
Now, I have seen some comments from coaches that were for the satellite camp saying that some of these SEC and ACC coaches are lazy and they don't want to go out and work in the summer and do this work. Well, I'm going to say one thing. They're not talking about Nick Saban. I mean, he would recruit every day if they would let him.
Well, let me say this. If they want to change something, they ought to change it. Let the head coaches go out during the spring evaluation, and let's see how many head coaches are eager to do that.
Yeah, they used to allow that, and then Nick Saban outworked everybody. When he got to Alabama, they quickly did away with that rule. So Alabama and Nick Saban may not want those satellite camps, but it has nothing to do with him not wanting to go out and recruit. Because, as I said, if the rules would allow, he would do it every day. All right, Rodney, coming up, phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, we'll show you the information on how you can get in touch with us. Go ahead and give us a call right now at 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. You can send us an email, TITV@WVUA23.com, or you can tweet at us using the hashtag TITV. We'll be back with more of the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the award-winning Tider Insider TV. Will return right after this timeout. Bama baseball and softball both in action. The Crimson Tide softball team on the road in Hattiesburg, Mississippi against Southern Miss. And right now in the fourth inning, Bama or actually in the second inning, number 4 ranked Alabama up 4-0 over the Golden Eagles. So they're off to a good start. Baseball, not so much. It's early now. It's only in the first. But we know how difficult the time Alabama's had on these midweek games. They're trailing UAB 1-0 over at the Joe. Highlights from both those games for you tonight on WVUA 23 News at 10. All right, Rod, let's get to the phone lines. First up tonight, Charles over in Talladega. How are you, Charles?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
Doing well, my friend. What's up, buddy?
Why is Mike Bellotti in the media picking LSU to win the West and win the SEC this year over Alabama?
Well, and I didn't know Mike Bellotti had made that pick, the former Oregon coach, now an analyst on TV, but I'll trust you. I think it's got a couple reasons. I think, first of all, LSU does have a lot of players. Now, they got some talent, Charles. And I think, too, people just don't want to pick the same team every year. I just think they're looking for somebody to knock off Alabama. Mike Bellotti obviously feels LSU is good enough. The game is in Baton Rouge between Alabama and LSU. So, but opinions, everybody's got one. Doesn't mean a lot. But, it wouldn't surprise me if come media days, Alabama's picked to win it by the media that comes together there in Birmingham. It would shock me if LSU was picked to win it. So,
well, like you said, LSU's a very talented team. Some people project them with 7 first-round draft picks for next year, so they're going to be extremely talented. Leonard Fournette's back. Darius Geis is another tremendous running back they have. They're loaded in the backfield. Probably one of the big questions they have is a quarterback with Brandon Harris, but he's got some experience. They've got a lot of talented receivers, Malachi Dupree being one of those. They've got a new defensive coordinator who was at Wisconsin last year. Alabama opened against him last year. Dave Aranda, he's put up some really impressive numbers. So you combine some of the talent that they have with that coaching, and I think there's a lot of people that have expectations of LSU. Now, with that said, too, Alabama's beat them 5 times in a row now. Coach Bellotti may be thinking, it's
LSU's
the numbers are
some of those games were really close too. 2 years ago it was overtime.
Absolutely. So when you look at that, that's probably why he's going against the grain a little bit.
Yeah, 2 years ago it was overtime. 2 years before that it was a T.J. Yeldon screen pass at the end of the game. So it's not like Alabama's blowing them out every year. So that's probably why, Charles. But I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. All right, let's stay right here in Tuscaloosa and talk to Marvin. Welcome in, Marvin, to TITV. Marvin, you with us? Marvin, going once, going twice, 3 times. All right, Marvin, real quickly, wanted to ask about rules and regulations for A-Day game, what you can bring and can't bring. Go to RollTide.com. They've got them all listed right there. So just go to RollTide.com, Marvin. They'll tell you everything you need to know. All right, we're going to take an email right now. Rodney, this one's from Doug all the way up in western Massachusetts.
Wow.
How about that? What can you tell me about Ronnie Clark? Any chance he carries the ball this season? Yeah, I think there's a chance, Doug, that he could get some carries. Right now, he's running behind Harris and Scarborough, and you've got B.J. Emmons coming in. But I tell you what, Ronnie Clark's a good athlete. He came out of Calera High School. Probably could have gone just about anywhere in the Southeastern Conference. Could play some defense as well. But right now he factors in at the running back. Wouldn't shock me if he played some this year.
Well, he's probably, I would guess, your number 3 guy right now. I don't know what the exact depth chart would be. Obviously, Bo Scarborough, Damian Harris at the top. But Ronnie Clark would be certainly somewhere in there. And, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he got some opportunities this year.
Are you ready for a tweet?
Sure.
All right, we got a tweet from at SDavis429. He asked, who will back up O.J. Howard at tight end? That's a good question, Rodney, and there are several guys that are vying for that spot.
Well, I tell you, I don't know necessarily about backing up O.J. Howard. He's a little bit different, but Hell Hinches is a guy that last year came in as a freshman, played significantly, and I really like him because – you know, he came in about 230 or so, Gary. He's now up near 260. He's becoming more of a physical presence, I think. Could be a guy that could be an outstanding blocker, and he was a good high school receiver too. But I want to tell you a guy that I think keep an eye on down the road. He's just a true freshman, early enrollee, Miller Forstall from over in Georgia. He's a guy that's been really impressive this spring. He's a very good athlete. Gary spent part of his senior year in high school as a quarterback before moving to tight end and had a tremendous senior year. And he's a guy that I think down the pike a little bit to really watch out for, Miller Forstall.
All right, well, coming up, Derrick Henry continues to train hard for the NFL draft. And who better to train with than a former first-round pick from Alabama? This is a great picture we got coming up too, Rodney. We'll let you know who Henry is teaming up with to get ready. And more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. In fact, Plato, you keep holding on. We'll get to you next. Again, there's the information on the screen on how you can get in touch with us. As I said, you can also tweet at us using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with more Tighter Insider TV right after this. How about this? Derrick Henry and Julio Jones. You could build an offense around these guys, couldn't you? You know, this is from Instagram today. Henry put this out with the caption, getting knowledge and working with greatness. And you know how big Henry is. Ronnie, look at Julio.
Yeah,
that's
amazing.
A wide receiver, brother.
Right.
Can you imagine trying to tackle him?
No, I couldn't.
No, I can't either. I just get out of the way. Olay. See ya. Henry's preparing for the NFL draft. And Julio's an all-pro right now with the Falcons. But again, I just want you to look at how big Julio is. Remember when he got here? You don't see many wide receivers that look like that. I tell you, I think he's bigger than Henry.
Well, he is. He's a little bit taller. And, you know, when I first watched Henry's highlight tape when he was in high school, I thought he looked a lot like Julio Jones as a younger player. Yeah. You know, just the way he ran and stuff. So that's a great picture.
I tell you, I admire Henry working out with Julio. I admire Julio coming back and working out here at Alabama. Also, this just in, 3 Alabama players will be in attendance for the first round of the NFL draft in Chicago on April 28th. Ashawn Robinson, Jaron Reed, and Reggie Ragland will all be at the Chicago Theater for the event, and that tells you there's a pretty good chance that they're going to be first-round picks. Let's go back to the phone lines. Plato has been patiently waiting in Panorama. How you doing, Plato? Plato, did you hang on with us? Plato went bye-bye. Let's go to Danny and Gadsden next up. Is this Danny?
Am I on?
Danny, is this you?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Danny.
I was wondering about Bradley Bozeman. What's his status, and do y'all think he might be starting this year? And I was wondering if he's a junior or senior this year.
Thanks, Danny. Well, let me tell you what, Bradley Bozeman's a football player. He's a hard-nosed kid, big, strong, physical, downhill blocker. He'll mix it up with you. I don't know if he's going to start. He's a versatile guy. He's in the mix. I think he'll be a junior this year, won't he, Rodney, in eligibility? But he'll factor in. He's battling for a starting position. We're going to have to see how this offensive line, kind of like the quarterback position, how it all plays out. But he's a guy to keep an eye on. He is a hard-nosed football player. Yeah, he is, and he was very valuable a couple of years ago as a redshirt freshman when he started, when Ryan Kelly went down for a little bit, did a nice job. He's played guard. He's played center. And he's also working at some tackle this spring. He's worked at right tackle. He's worked at left tackle. So he does have a lot of versatility. Again, will he crack the starting 5? I don't know. But you know, a few years ago, there was a guy named Alfred McCullough that didn't crack the starting 5 for quite a while until the very end of the year. But he was so valuable when guys went down. He had the ability to play guard and tackle. Remember, Fluker went down. He played right tackle. He played guard when he needed to. So you can never have enough guys that can play be those swing-type guys and do it effectively. So Bradley Bozeman is valuable in that regard. Yeah, Bozeman's got a mean streak, and I mean that as a compliment. He really is a guy that gets after it on the offensive line. Let's go down to Moundville and talk to Dale. Dale, welcome into the program.
Hey, guys.
Hey, buddy.
I was at Fan Day last year and watched Xavier Marks, and I was really impressed with him, with the way he ran. He kind of reminded me of Murray Hill, if y'all remember him.
Yeah, very well.
And I just wondered if y'all think that Coach Saban would use him kind of like what he did against Alabama. I know you guys remember this, too, against LSU in 2001 with a guy named Josh Reed. Like a little swing,
yeah, Reed wore out Alabama in that game under Saban against Mike Schuler. You're absolutely right. Dale, I don't know. You know, any little small player, you mentioned Murray Hill, Brandon Brooks, even Shad Williams, who's a running back. They all, guys that are not big in stature. This kid can really run. You're right. He's an exciting guy. I don't know how much you're going to see him on offense. I do think he could factor in on the kicking game. Yeah,
and I saw Dale's question. I was going to say a mix between Murray Hill and Brandon Brooks. And so when he mentioned Murray Hill, certainly that was one of the guys that came to mind for me. And I'd say this. Now, he's not nearly as big as Josh Reed was. Josh Reed was 200 pounds plus.
6'1" or so.
He was a former running back himself, wide receiver, 19 catches that day for 205 yards. Yeah, he lit Alabama up.
Yeah, he went on to the NFL. But I tell you, I'm with you. I think this Marks kid is an exciting little water bug. Punt returner, kick returner. He's dealing with Ridley for that spot, so we'll see what happens. Still to come, Alabama's 2017 class looks even better after the Tide flipped a 5-star linebacker from FSU. We'll have the details when we come back on the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide and has been doing so for a lot of years now. Tider Insider TV will return after this. It was a great weekend for Alabama in recruiting because 5-star linebacker Vandarius Cowan came to Tuscaloosa and flipped his commitment from the Florida State Seminoles to the Crimson Tide. Cowan, who's from Palm Beach, Florida, had been committed to the Noles since December. He's Alabama's 8th commitment in class of 2017. The fact that there are so many great linebackers out there, Rodney, and Alabama pursued him this much after he'd committed to Florida State tells you just how badly Alabama wants him in his class.
Yep, and really they need inside linebackers, Gary. Got Ben Davis coming in, but I think picking him up along with Gary Johnson, who they picked up, the junior college player, 2 really big pickups this early.
Athletic, to say the least. Our shirts and ties tonight provided by the Locker Room in downtown Tuscaloosa, home of the original Elephant Wear. Go by and see them or shop online and get you some great locker room wear or some of their other great men's wear and ladies wear as well. That's going to do it for the program. Replay tonight at 10:30 for Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Good night.